through some kind of training, some kind of class, some kind of community where you really learn about DEATH. Okay, so I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say that, but I still have people commenting on my older content on my WithLoveChuckie about dementia. Dementia is a very, very confusing, very, very loaded, very, very difficult journey to go through. Obviously, the one that's going through it, it's the most difficult for them. And then the very next person it's difficult for is the person that's caring for them. That is why most of the time individuals are put into a home, unfortunately, okay? And this is the thing, I really do have empathy if you are somebody that is battling if you should put your loved one in a home or not if they have dementia. I want to tell you that go with truly what is best for your loved one, okay? So if it is best for your loved one to be in a home, specifically because you can't get the time off work, okay? You don't have the help from consistent help from family and friends, okay? You don't have the resources. It can get expensive. There was so many things that my grandmother needed: vitamins, MCT oil, turmeric, different, we wanted to make sure to up level her food. We wanted to make sure to get her high quality supplements and just we wanted to up level everything, and that took money, right? Obviously putting my grandmother in taking care of my grandmother, we were in charge of all of her transportation. We didn't use Access. We actually did use Access for a short period of time, but we didn't even feel comfortable letting my grandmother go in the Access because one time there was really a scary story. So my grandmother actually, she went down and she went down in front of the apartment to get picked up by Access. She got picked up, and there was 2 locations that had the same name that were like blocks within blocks of distance to each other. It's called One Generation. So if anyone is in Los Angeles County, you can go to One Generation, and that is an adult daycare. So I'll do another video about that. But One Generation, there was 2 of them. One was more like one-on-one care. One was more very, very protected care, and the other one was more public. It was more casual. It was for elders that pretty much didn't need that much looking after. They just needed something to do, right? Like during their day when they would fill up their time with activities. So my grandmother got dropped off at the one that's more public, where people can go as they please. They can leave and go as they please. They can do whatever they want. They can show up when they want. And she was supposed to be taken to the one that's more strict, right? She gets checked in. She gets walked to the door. They lock the doors. They don't let the seniors, go in and out. They have to be approved to leave. And that's the one she was supposed to go to because obviously she has dementia. So she got dropped off at that one. And it was so terrifying because I think what happened is the Access driver just kind of noticed that something was off, because my grandmother, she was at a stage where she was like in her middle stages, like headed toward the late stages of dementia, and she recognized that that wasn't the building. Like the building looked different to her, and she couldn't really articulate why she wasn't going to get out of the van, but she didn't get out of the van, thank God. So they were like, okay, maybe she's supposed to go to the other one. And so actually, I think she was convinced that no, she is supposed to be going to One Generation because he's looking at his, that's what it was. So this is like a 6 years ago. So just bear with me. So he's looking at his chart, and he's like, okay, it says One Generation on the chart. So he's like, no, ma'am, you're supposed to get out. So she finally is like, okay, this doesn't feel right, but okay, I know I have this condition. Maybe I'm supposed to be here, even though she was correct, right? So she got out, and she just was completely out of place. Like the staff that works there were like, what's your name? Who are you? Yada, yada, yada. So they ended up, thank God we had an information tag that was in her purse. So that's another tip. Always make sure that there is a emergency contact always on like a tag placed either around their neck. It's kind of like a collar, like how dogs wear a collar with their information. It's pretty much similar to that, either around their neck or in their purse, right? Preferably, to be honest, around their neck, because you just never know what can happen. So thank God they had that. They called it and we were like, no. So I ended up just leaving wherever I was. I think I was like on my way to an event at that time. And so I just picked her up, and it was just really scary. So nonetheless, what I want to tell you is, if you are debating, should I put my loved one in a home or should I not? The number one human being that needs the most care is obviously the person that has dementia. So if you know, you can honestly look yourself in the mirror and say, you know what, I can't do this. Like, I don't have the resources. I don't have the time. I don't have the wherewithal. I don't have X, Y, and Z. I don't have the team. I don't have the money. Like, just be comfortable with going out of your way to really do your research on putting your loved one in a great facility. Now, if you know you can do it, right? Maybe you're just scared, or maybe you feel overwhelmed, but there's still some things that systems that you can put into place where you can care for your loved one. I would highly, highly, highly suggest that you don't put your loved one in a facility, right? Now, again, no judgment if you do. I really want to hone in on that, because some people have actually reached out to me in tears and was like, oh my gosh, I truly wish that I would have, not put my loved one in a home. Like, you really did a lot of sacrificing and it's paying off, and you are, you and your mom have the sweetest soul. And I wish I would have just did that. And I wish I would have spent the last moments with my loved one, like all of that, right? But the thing is, that just happened to be me and my mom's journey. Full transparency, me and my mom had my grandmother on waiting list for a few years. One of the reasons why my grandmother didn't get put into a home was because we literally, like, everything within an hour of where my mom and my grandmother's residence was, everything was booked. And it was booked up for, like, she was on a waiting list of like a year and a half or something. So several people would have to pass before my grandmother would even get a chance. And it was pretty much kind of like, okay, well, your grandmother might even potentially pass before even getting a chance. Now, during that journey, obviously we have to take care of her, right? Like, because she literally can't go into a home. And I think that was God's way of saying, no. You guys think that you guys can't do this. You guys don't have because me and my mom, we were like, we want to make sure she gets the best care, right? Like, we want to make sure she has the best cleaning. We want to make sure she has the best food. We want to make sure she's getting like the right therapy and things like that. But after I learned about old folks' homes, I mean, unless you really put them into a very elite one, it's going to be subpar care. Not all the time, but I am sad to say that sometimes they have to sedate them and they just kind of leave them sitting for a while, right? Like, because a lot of people with dementia, they get high agitation. And in order for the nurses to be able to do what they need to do, and the staff, continuing to check things off of their schedule, they can't just be chasing after somebody with dementia all day, right? So they end up like, giving them something to kind of like sedate them or like calm them down. And again, this is not all senior citizen homes. It's very case by case, right? So that's why you want to do a tour. You want to do your research. You want to, look at the reviews. If people are nice enough to leave their number on the reviews or a way to contact them or email them, say, hey, what was your experience? I'm going through this right now. Like, really go above and beyond to make sure that you're going to put your loved one in the best facility possible. But, of course I did hear horror stories as well. So I say that to say, like, you never know what God is doing for you. You never know what God is orchestrating. You never know what God is really preparing you for. Even though you don't feel like you might be ready, it was kind of like every week that went by, things just kind of ended up working out. Like, I wasn't working a 9-to-5 job at the time. I was working more of like what you would call like gig kind of jobs, right? gig kind of jobs in LA, where it was kind of on my own schedule, and I could work, 10 days straight and then not work for 20 days, right? I could work 15 days straight doing a bunch of gigs and then not work for 15 days. So I designed it like that way because I just wanted to be able to travel and like do, do what I wanted, right? Being single with no children, right? And so I kind of had more flexibility with my schedule. And then my mom was working full time, trying to, working on her master's as well. And I just was like, you know what? I just feel a calling to go all in with my mom on this journey. I just do. So that's what I did. And we were like, okay, well, eventually my grandmother will eventually be put in a home, and our schedules can go back to normal. And then what we'll do is rotate seeing my grandmother every day. So between me, my mom, and then my aunt, and then other family members, we were going to just kind of rotate, so that way my grandmother would be able to get, just be able to see a loved one every day. But it was like every week that went by, she just was not getting picked up. We would research, we would call, we would put her on I think she was like on 5 different wait lists. Like, I'm not even kidding. She was on 5 different wait lists, and it just was like something would fall through, or her insurance wouldn't cover, a particular facility. And it just was like getting to the point where, oh, I think my mom's over there. It was just getting to the point where it just wasn't looking good, right? It just wasn't looking good. It was, my grandmother was just digressing so rapidly by that point that we were just like, you know what, forget it. We're going to, we kind of have a system in place. And like I said, by the grace of God, it was just like things just kind of kept working out. And like I said, I just was like, I'm just going to go all in and just do this process. So regardless of a home or not at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and take care of my grandmother. So that's what ended up happening. So if you are debating about putting your loved one in a home, don't feel bad. There's no judgment. Everybody has their own journey. And I do want to tell you that sometimes it is the better option, because if you don't have the care, if you don't have the resources, then, you're going to have to, I'm on live right now real quick. I'm just going to wrap up. So if you don't have the resources, if you don't have the care, fortunately my mom and I just were able to team up and have a excellent, just teamwork when it came to my grandmother, and we were able to work it out. And now, we feel very fulfilled that we were able to be on that journey with my grandmother. But it was, I'm not going to lie, it was one of the most difficult things that me and my mother ever went through. So don't judge, don't be too hard on yourself. If you can't work it out, if you're not able to put your parent in a home, then you're going to have to do what's best for your family. Okay. So, let me know what you guys think about, what we talked about. If you're going through this right now, definitely let me know. I can give you guys some resources on what you can do to help you make that decision. All right. And definitely catch me on the next one. Bye.